So it's a lot easier to come up with a title for my episode if I actually have a plan of what I'm going to work on in that episode. How strange. Which means that this episode you get me actually working coherently on a single project. Namely, digging out more of my cave. We've currently got the entrance hall, which is relatively tight and narrow, or the entrance area, which has been relatively tight and narrow and might need more terraforming later to make it work. But I have plenty of terraforming more to do, and hey, it seems as good a time as any to start. However, I don't intend to start with terraforming the inside of the entrance hall particularly, since the decorative step can wait until I've gotten more of the structure laid out. And I just sort of like having an excuse to keep digging this deeper. And this entrance hall is about as deep as it needs to go, where it's still maintaining its full initial area, which means we're now getting to transition into the first curve, and it getting a little steeper as we head down into the depths of the world and find all the strange things lurking below. And did I really spend a full day monologuing about what I'm planning on doing to my cave? Alright, I'll come in with the pathing later, because I do want there to still be the path. However, right now, I'm just going to sculpt out where the terrain is going to be down here. Now, for some reason, my natural bias is saying that it needs to curve off to the right this way. And let's try not to break my torches. Never mind, that torch is just going to stay broken. I'm not 100% certain what I'm doing here with this cave. I'm just continuing to carve away stone until it gets into the pattern that fits. But remember, it's not a mistake. It's just trying something out to see whether or not it works. And sometimes you like it and sometimes you don't, and both answers are fine. The cave doesn't have to be perfect on the first try. You can just keep digging. Carving away all the stone that isn't aligning with your vision until finally you reveal the true beauty of the cave lying beneath. And it appears I have found a naturally formed cave in where I was going to put my highly unnatural cave, and that's inconvenient. How dare. And how dare it curve back on up. Still, I think this also says that I have gone deep enough. You missed me, creeper. Now to light this place on up so that I don't have any creepers dropping in to say hi on my build later, and so that I'm not lagging out the server with excess mobs sitting underground that I don't intend on using for something. Could you not? I don't want to build a zombie spawner. I will, however, take these music discs. or leave the music discs there and come back and take them later. And would you look at that? Inconvenient landscaping features, anyone? Still, I can work with this. That's an entire ravine full of stone that I don't have to carve out later for the mega cave. Provided I end up lining up approximately with the cave. Or with the... What is it with being a member of Ravine Crew and being cursed to find ravines everywhere I go? Or blessed with glorious ravines? So, that might be a health and safety hazard later to fly through. Yeah, that probably will be a health and safety hazard later to fly through. Crashing into the ceiling. Which means, once again, I am reminded of one of the other issues. It's not a properly grand cave if the ceiling is in reach like that. Which means that for however much I loved my I liked how the dangling stone was looking, it still has to be cut back much farther. So that it is the flight risk. Because I intend for this entire cave to be able to be glided on down, provided you start with enough initial glide already heading into the opening entrance hall. All this junk that keeps accumulating in my inventory. Gah! How dare! Stop it! That's also tightened up far too much. Let's continue expanding the path on out this way. Make it wider, make it bolder, make it larger, more draconic. Yes, from here on out, my cave is going to be far more sinuous and curvy and dramatic. I'm not 100% certain what all of that actually is going to mean in terms of cave appearance, but we get to find that out. And I'm just going to take gravel veins as an omen of area to clear out. Good for creating naturally wide areas in the cave. Bad sometimes for creating excessively steep drop-off. And I'm going to go use the other entrance to seal off the top of that area. There we go, much better. That definitely looks like it's slanting on around to go under the previous path, but I think I do want it to curve. Sometimes nature gives me direction, and I must simply choose either to follow it or force my own will on the terrain. And while I, like any true Minecraft player, am perfectly capable of bending the universe to our will, I don't have to. On the other hand, there's also the glorious ravine that I found off that way. I think I am going to have it curve back on this way as well. Counter curve. Ignore the sounds of the wind outside my house. Sometimes the night is simply dark and stormy. It was a dark and stormy night, and all throughout Minecraft, I was carving caves. Doesn't quite sound as right. Digging I shall go, digging I shall go. I need better mining songs. I mean, if I had a slightly different Minecraft skin, I could borrow somebody else's, but I am not a dwarf, even if I am digging a hole. Diggy diggy hole. And the cave now is certainly starting to grow, both deep and steep. Let's climb on up my vines and use that to get my initial glide height. Probably still needs another 2 curves just to have a proper feeling of gliding down this tunnel. And I think the rate I'm going, I am going to end up at that ravine, and that it will be the signal to come out into the large mega cave. Which is going to be fun to build, and I need to locate where the heck my scaffolding has wandered off to. I'm definitely going to need to locate where my scaffolding is for building the cave down the end of this, just because I'm already having issues with barely being able to reach my ceilings. Imagine how much worse that's going to be when I'm trying to build something that best resembles a 1.18 cave. And remember, kids, when dealing with elves, never stray. When dealing with elvish woods, never stray from the path. Not, of course, you have to worry about that on any of my paths, because there generally isn't all that much room for anyone to stray. Or to go particularly astray. Still, useful tip that I have learned from my conspicuous consumption of fantasy novels. Also, be careful of eating anything out of a fairy wood, and that does turn up slightly more often in my fairy builds. For instance, sweet berries. Lovely decoration. And terrible temptation. Do not eat the sweet berries out of my builds. And now, to test the glide on into my cave again. Yeah, that's starting to feel deep enough, and even if the roof is getting tighter, it's still not too much of a health and safety hazard for people gliding on in. Only one much. Alright, and now I just keep digging until I find the ravine hiding under here, and then I use that as my sign to expand out into the big cave. Editing this is going to be a nightmare. Sorry, future me. Diorite and granite do give a very natural feel to the cave, but I may want to replace them with things like ore vein. I'm going to definitely want to scatter ore veins on through here. I've been collecting a little bit of emerald ore and a little bit of redstone ore for a reason, and the reason is decorating. The reason is always decorating. The reason we do anything in Minecraft is decorating. But I'm also definitely just going to want to scatter things like deep slate and tough on through, because both of them are lovely cave blocks with character that we sadly do not see at this elevation of cave. Probably should also scatter on through some truly massive amounts of dripstone. And there we go, I'm now at the ravine. Or at a ravine. Darn it, ravine crew! You have spoiled that word for me now. I need to figure out exactly how landbound folks are supposed to be able to get into the ground level of this here cave. I might put a waterfall. After all, it's not a proper ravine without a water feature. Though I suppose there is already definitely a water feature down the bottom of that ravine. But still, it's not a proper base in a ravine if it doesn't have water features. Just ask my fellow members of Ravine Crew and the 50 different hot tubs we've built. So, I was out in the end so long that I almost forgot what the heck I was doing with the trip away from my base and how this was relevant to progressing my cave. And if I hadn't moused over a certain box in my inventory, I would have completely forgotten the entire purpose of that trip. But, since I did, I'd also paid a visit out to the resource nether while I was in the area, away from my base, so I could pick up some materials for experimenting with the lighting solution to my cave. Since torches on the ground is not the correct solution, and one of the ideas I'd had for how to do this let's see if I can remember how one actually makes soul flame torches. Ah, drat. Okay. Oh, and I should also turn my game sounds back on since I'm no longer at the Wither Rose farm. Satisfying sound of Minecraft again. Yay! So, a couple of the ideas I'm going to try out include wall sconces on some type of pillar block. The most likely pillar probably being polished blackstone, but I'm also going to consider basalt as pillars. Another variant is both colors of hanging lanterns, I have chains, I have iron nuggets. I can certainly maketh lanterns. And the third variant is going to be candles sitting somewhere. I can also use more than one of these, since I'm planning on splicing both glow lichen and glowberries into decorating the cave. I just want to solve my probable primary lighting solution before I start working on decoration. I also probably want to set my brightness to something other than absolutely bright, but given how dark this is starting to get, when I clear up the floor torches were never the solution. I suspect that if the lighting situation doesn't notably improve from me adding the wall torches, that spacing on wall torches does not work. And since the lighting around here is going to get even more infrequent, yep, that is not enough light. Since it would get even worse with the soul flame torches. Even if the soul flame torches do produce, I think, a better atmosphere. Neither solution by themselves are going to be considered. I'm aware that the chains and lanterns are a flying health and safety hazard. I just also really like the aesthetic. I can reach that chain. Thank you, Minecraft. I don't think that the soul flame lanterns by themselves can be my only lighting solution. But I do think that I like how they look. Since that isn't enough light yet, I'm also going to use some of those wither roses for myself, rather than selling them at color complete, to actually make candles. Because what's the point of having a shop selling candles in every single color if I don't actually have any colored candles in my own base? Honestly. Here. Okay, and it does look like that's not too much of a health and safety hazard, having the chains off the way they are. Or at least not too much of a health and safety hazard for me, and I don't really care about other people intruding into my base. And for some reason, the candles bother me so much less than torches, despite the fact that they're basically, both just light sources I've left on the ground. And need another flint and steel soon. And oh god, this pattern is going to use up so many candles, but it does, I think, keep the place lit, which is good enough. And it's a mega base, or even not a mega base. It is my final season base, regardless of whether or not it's adequately mega. So one should go nuts with decorating it with things like candles. First season where I've actually wanted flint and steel more than about twice. Darn candles making me actually use all of the blocks in Minecraft. or actually use more of Minecraft's tools. And at 25 durability later, I have finally managed to convert 3 gravel into 3 flint. Thank you so much, annoying shovels. I had a clue where to start, because so far what I've done has all been easy stuff, because I've been procrastinating very much the next step along this process. I've made a slight design alteration to how I'm placing the lanterns. Can you tell what it is? I've moved the lanterns back at least 1 block from the wall so that there is an illusion of depth, even if I am also trying to keep it relatively close to the wall so that I don't run straight into a lantern chain. Which is going to make it interesting trying to figure out where to actually place my lanterns. But we love a good challenge around here on Titancraft now, don't we? I mean, that is adjacent on the diagonal, but it still gives it much more of a feeling of depth when it's not straight up against a wall. Okay, I was going to put a chain there, but that misclick actually seems to have worked out reasonably well for me. Yeah, that's why that block needs to be far brighter. I didn't put in all of my candles. This is going to be so candle hungry. I love it, but still, so candle hungry. Alright, and that should be dropping down a level. And ta-da! The outer edge of the path, or the border, has been finished. Probably, I might decide to move the border later, but now time to just replace everything and pour in the terraces. Using the correct block palette. But yeah, for those of you struggling to try to do some level of variation, I say that it's often easier to try to think up some pattern to describe it, rather than frustrate yourself on trying to aim for truly random. At least partially just because having a pattern makes it slightly more interesting. And now for one last glide through the... Actually, I will do the glide through the shade with glide through the cave with shaders on. Jeez. There's Silder's shaders. We have at least my lovely stars and shimmering water. Now within the cave, at reasonable people brightness, those lanterns do stand out an awful lot. However, I think Silder's is not the correct shaders for this cave. Let's try BSL. BSL is very gray compared to Silder is very brown, and I think this cave benefits from being gray. Gives it a far more spooky atmosphere. Good night, Internet. Have fun, and see you all in the next episode.